This is a PowerPoint slideshow that I did at the request of the Girl Scout troop of my older daughter, Kavina. And it was supposed to be about world music, which I have some interest in. I told the kids that, and these are third graders, by the way, I told them I'm a doctor and a teacher, but I play and studied music too, which is why I'm so interested in this. So first thing, explaining what sound is to kids, third graders, I showed them how basically there's vibrations that travel through the air, or if you put your ear against a wall, you'll hear the vibrations going through the wall, and you can hear them through your ear, and they form these, just like the string here has a vibration, and you can see the waves here, it's similar, and it's doing that to the air. And it's compression and rarefaction, and of course I probably lost them at that point. But then I showed them how when you're in the water doesn't actually move, it's the wave that's moving. And similarly, just like these balls here, there's energy being transmitted to the other side, and that's how it moves. And that's kind of how the air is moving the sound towards you. So now that we know what a sound is, we can define what a soundscape is, and that's basically all the sounds you hear in a particular location considered as a whole. So for example, if you were sitting by a mountain lake, you'd be hearing waves, the human voices, if they're there, birds, wind, and here's an example. Now that's a very different soundscape than city sounds. So let's see what that sounds like. I think this thing starts about 18 seconds in. Oh no, there we go. Yeah, so this is very different, right? You hear the cars, you're hearing the bell there of a bike. Very different soundscape. So now that takes us to the next level, which is, what is music? So I asked the kids, hey, is this art? And they said, maybe. And then I showed them this, and they said, yeah, that's art. So I went to Webster's dictionary. It says that music is the science or art of ordering tones or sounds in succession and combination and in temporal relationships to produce a composition having unity and continuity. Could be vocal, instrumental, or mechanical sounds having rhythm, melody, or harmony. So next I want to play you a soundscape that was taken in Ghana, a country in the African continent. And this is a postal worker stamping envelopes. I mean, you can hear the people talking in the background. You can hear him stamping, and he's patting it, and then eventually he starts singing. So it is a soundscape, but I gotta say, it's kind of musical. Next, I took them to this website where basically you have the ability to control how many of the cicadas and how many of the insects on a summer night soundscape, how many of those you want to control, how many of those sounds and how much of them you want. And so then the question is that a soundscape still, or is that music? Please go to this website if you can. So basically what I said is that the difference between music and sounds or soundscapes is that choices went into it, artistic choices went into making that happen. So what can we choose things about? So what are the choices that we can affect? There's rhythm. Rhythm is basically what the time is like. Melody is what the pitch is like. Harmony is how the pitches relate to each other. And dynamics is how the volume is changing over time. Tone colors are hard to explain to a third grader, but we all know that it has to do with the harmonic content of the sound. And then, of course, you can have lyrics, and that changes everything. Then I showed them this picture. I said, which ones are frogs and which ones are toads? And this is her little sister, Athena. And there are a bunch of characteristics that you can look at to decide whether what you're seeing is a frog or is it a toad. And similarly, you can look at melody, harmony, rhythm, and lyrics, and then you can decide whether this is a frog or a toad, or basically, is it music or soundscape, or if it's music, what kind of music it is. So let's go. So I took them back to Ghana, and we listened to a different
Selection 14. Postal workers canceling stamps at the University of Ghana Post Office.
University of Ghana. So this has rhythm. It has melody. I'm not really sure. Oh yeah, they are harmonizing. So this has rhythm. There's definitely dynamics and different tone colors. So maybe this is music and not just a soundscape. So then we talked about how do we classify music, because when you're reading books, you don't want to just call everything books. Some of it's poetry, some of it's folk tales, fiction, nonfiction, etc. Same way, we want to have, just like we have literary genres, we'd like to have musical genres. And one classification system of genres is to break them down into art music, popular music, religious music, and traditional music. Art music is basically the classical music of a culture, and usually the emphasis is on how technique is built, formality, details, and focused listener attention. It's usually a written format, but it can also be passed down verbally. Religious music, again, made for religious prayers and hymns, and it's for connecting with the spiritual side. And it's the opposite of secular music. Traditional music is also known as folk music, and it's usually passed down from one person to another, listening to it. This is the kind of stuff you hear in pubs and around campfires, etc. And then popular music, it's basically made to earn money and for mass distribution, and it's not usually written. So that's one way of categorizing it. Another way is to look at where it came from. So I analyzed where all these kids were from, and they were from a bunch of different countries, and many of them were from, all of them were American, and many of them were from India. So I went through some of those styles. In America, we have all the music that happened after the Native Americans. We had classical, jazz, minimalism. These are art music. Religious music with Christian, Negro spirituals, and traditional included the blues, country, hip-hop, folk, and then pop music is pop music. In India, we had art music, Hindustani and Carnatic classical, religious music, of course, over 2,000 years. Traditional includes Dandiya and Bhangra, and then pop music is Bollywood. We had a couple of Irish kids. Art music was Celtic, and I played Spotify. On Spotify, I played music representing each of these for them. Even Mexico, we went through some of that. And I thought showing them the differences between music and what was similar about music in different parts of the world by looking at wedding music around the world was interesting. And this goes on for a while. So basically these were their Girl Scout requirements, which we had covered, and I recommended that they keep listening and travel the world through their ears.